Richmond, Virginia, but heard all across the world wide web. We are super excited to have all of you that are joining us and tuning in. Listen, hello to those that are hanging out on the phone lines. We see you. Hello, hello. To all of those that are coming in from all of our broadcast stations and all across the World Wide Web, and our streaming audience. We say, hey, those of you that are listening from an Alexa device, there may be some that are listening from Alexa. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for checking us out here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. And this segment is brought to you by the 4th Annual PopUp Conference for Female Entrepreneurs. That's happening in the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, November 1st and November 2nd. And I am telling you what, this is my personal invitation. I want to see you there. I want you to be there. So jump over to heygirlhey.biz. Jump over to heygirlhey.biz, and that will give you all of the details, and you can register and all that good stuff. We have a few more seats for you, and I want to see you there. And so, as you know, we bring to you phenomenal guest, dynamic guest, and so today is no different. Hanging out with me in the virtual studio, I'm going to be bringing him up to the mic momentarily. I have Milton Lawrence Jr. Joining us. Listen, international lifestyle photographer, custom content creator, docuseries, videos, cinematography, all of that is wrapped up into the Milton Lawrence Creative Agency. Really your go-to solution for visual branding and storytelling. Hails from Baltimore, Maryland. So listen, I know we have some Maryland listeners that are hanging out with us, and his work has been seen in a number of places. He's had the opportunity to do work for organizations that you've heard about and you know about, including AT&T, CNN, National Museum of American History, the Ritz-Carlton, and he's been featured in Essence, The Knot, Black Enterprise, and the Today Show, and so many more things that we can say. And so we are bringing him up to the mic because, listen, you know, anyone that follows me and has followed me for any period of time knows that I really value the importance of visual branding, and so this is going to be a fun show. So coming up to the mic right now, joining me live, Milton Lawrence Jr. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Charvette. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you. I know that you have traveled the world, and so we're glad that we were able just to grab a few minutes while you're in one place to chat.
Crazy excited to be here on the show.
Yeah. So let's go back and just let our listeners know a little bit about your background. And when did you first realize that you really had a gift for photography?
So honestly, Charvette, what I've realized over the last 11 years is that my gift is really not photography, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I would say that my gift, honestly, is storytelling. And so the vehicle, so, you know what I mean? So anything that requires, like, I would say discipline and a skill, it's not really, you know what I mean, a gift, right? And I believe in God. I'm a Christian, and that type of thing. And so I really feel like, in my case, the gift that I was given from God is the gift of story. And so I've leveraged that in the sense of being able to tell stories or capture stories using photography and video. There's obviously many different ways you can capture a story or tell a story, but when it comes to storytelling, that's what I believe my gift is.
Oh, I love that. And it's so important these days that brands and businesses and organizations and nonprofits and ministries are able to tell their story. Is it more prevalent now than it was when you started 11 years ago, or has it always been that case?
So the buzzword kicked in specifically for entrepreneurs, right, for individual entrepreneurs. I call them expert entrepreneurs. Maybe they work a 9-to-5 job, or they have a particular gift or a talent that they're trying to do. Like, you run a graphics, and you're into branding, right? You helped influencers to get into branding, right? And so, in many times, like, a lot of my clients are doctors, right? So many of them are looking to monetize, like, their doctorate degrees and their medical degrees. And so 10, 15 years ago, it was important if you were a speaker or an author or a coach. But now, in today's market, everyone is a brand. Even the individual who works a 9-to-5 job, it's a brand. Like, you have a certain standard and a certain look and a certain feel, and it's really, you want that to precede you long before anybody ever actually meets you.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And so the storytelling gift that you have, what was the first? So, what was photography the first kind of vehicle that you used in this storytelling, gift that you have?
I would say no. So it actually all started with honestly with acting, right? With acting and music.
Oh, okay.
So these are all mediums of ways of being able to tell stories. What happened was, what actually pushed me into photography as a vehicle was I didn't have a job. I had moved from the West Coast back to the East Coast. I'd spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, and once I transitioned out of the military, my mother wasn't doing too well. And so, as a side hustle, I would work in the nightclubs as a means of being able to take pictures, just as a means of being able to make some extra money, and that type of thing. And so what I found during that time frame was that was really, if anybody's ever worked, who's listening to the show right now, has ever worked in corporate America, it's very, statement of work, and then there's a statement of work that needs to be done, and then you deliver. It was a very deliverables-driven type of business, right? So you go, you take pictures as a side hustle and that type of thing. What happened during that time frame is I then transitioned into the wedding space. That was a natural progression from shooting events, if you will. Okay. What happened was, when I kind of had like my aha moment, which I think is one of the ways you're asking me this question. One of the aha moments was when I would deliver my images back to my brides. What would happen is, many of them would say, "I didn't even remember that happening." And what that meant to me was that in that particular part of the story, she saw the wedding from one way, I saw it from a totally different way. And so when I represented that day back to her, they would typically say, the recurring theme they would say, Charvette, is that I don't remember that actually happened. So I told a holistic story where they saw the story from a very, very, kind of finite view, if you will. Then the last transition kind of happened, I would say about 4 years into shooting, when I was introduced to Shay Sharp's Pink Wishes. And Shay Sharp's Pink Wishes is a nonprofit that does makeovers, that grants wishes to women that are under the age of 40 that are terminal, that are stage 4 and that are terminal in cancer. And obviously this month being Breast Cancer Month is a huge month for fundraising and that type of thing. Well, a few years ago, I partnered with her to start capturing some of these moments. So when the doctors would give them their terminal diagnosis, she would partner with me to come in and do a photo session, because once they found out they were terminal, in many cases their bodies would start to deteriorate and that type of thing. And that's when I kind of knew, at that point, I knew that the photography and video that we were doing back then was really a sign of impact, right? So, it started off as a deliverable, as a side hustle, to the point now where these images live on forever in the hearts and the minds of the people that you're capturing, but also their families as well.
Wow. Thank you for bringing us kind of full circle. And I loved the point that you made of how the bride had one kind of view, and then you there taking pictures, telling the story, you were able to show a holistic view. And so I think sometimes when people think about photography for events, for even weddings, they don't think about the huge impact, and I'm always talking about photography in particular with events. Like, if you don't have photography, you don't have a professional photographer, there's no proof that you even had an event. There's no proof, and a lot of times your mindset is you're all over the place. Definitely a bride and all of that is all over the place, so they can't really see, oh, that person was there, oh, he got that angle. And so you've done like over 200 weddings now, right?
Yes, over the last 10 years, we've produced over 200 weddings. On an average year, we would typically shoot anywhere between 30 to 40 weddings. In the last year to year and a half, that's come down significantly. But that was my training ground. The nightclubs was the best training ground, obviously, for weddings, because you're shooting in a kind of photojournalistic, very candid style of shooting, which is actually, the best training ground, the best boot camp before walking into an actual wedding day.
Okay, that's good. That's good. If you just tuned in, hey, you're checking out the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, and we are chatting it up here with Milton Lawrence Jr., international lifestyle photographer. Listen, we're just going to say storyteller, custom content creator. You're getting all the background scoop right here. Thanks for those that are checking out and listening to us on any of our live streaming platforms. Hey, Facebook Live, hey Periscope, hey guys, hey YouTube. We appreciate you. And so, Milton, I love this. And so, if there's someone that's getting ready, let's say for a photo shoot, a brand photo shoot, what tips would you give that person?
So it starts and ends with the story, right? So it doesn't matter if you're shooting socially, like for a wedding, right, or you're shooting commercially for an event or someone who's an influencer or a coach or a business owner. You know, one of the fastest growing, I think they just published this article, I think it was even Forbes, on a major publication, where they talked about one of the fastest growing segments in business right now is women, you know, specifically African American women entrepreneurs, right? And so I would say probably 90% of my customers is that segment of business, to be honest with you. And so that target audience. And so the long and short of it is, I would say it starts and ends with story, right? And so if one of the biggest issues that a lot of I would say women entrepreneurs and African American women entrepreneurs are dealing with is, I don't mind giving as a success story the thing that I do. Whatever my product or service is, I don't mind putting that out there. I just want to stay in the background. I want my work to speak so loudly that you don't ever have to see who I am. Well, that doesn't work today, right? Not in today's market. 10 years ago, you could still kind of hide behind the brand, but now you need to come up beside that brand so they can kind of put a face with the name, because people want to research you. They want to Google you. They want to learn a little bit more about you, okay? So when you're preparing for that, you're preparing for that shoot or for that video or that brand presentation or that brand story, you have to answer one single question. What is the story that I want to put out, that I want to project? What are those colors that I want to project? What are the fonts that I want to project? What is the story that I want to project? And once you decide on what that is, then you can go and produce that shoot. And typically that comes in the form of a storyboard, right? So when I'm working with my clients, we come up with a storyboard so we can try to figure out exactly the looks that you want to put out to be projected. And that's essentially what you would do. So I would say it starts with the story and making a decision as to what, again, the story that you want to be produced or projected out into the world, because it's going to sit out there forever.
All right. The story is key. The story is key. I think, listeners, you are getting that loud and clear. And so how do you help people with things like posing? Like, how do I pose? What kind of poses do I do during a photo shoot? How do you help with that?
So when it comes to posing, I'm glad you asked that question. We're actually doing a fundraiser coming up here on the 18th of October here in Baltimore. And so we have a brand, actually have an off-street brand that's called Curves and Confidence. And this is a brand where I teach ordinary women how to position and contour their bodies to look amazing in front of the camera. One of the biggest frustrations that I often get is that, Milton, I take 4,000 selfies to find that one picture that I really, really like, right? I take 3,000. I'm exaggerating when I say 4,000, but I take a bunch of to find that one that I really, really like. And really, what it boils down to is when it comes to posing, it's really owning who you are. Number one, okay. Number two, is posing. For the clothing that you're wearing, right? And then the third one I would say is posing for your body style, right? So one of the big mistakes that a lot of people will make is they will actually pose. They don't really know this subconsciously. A lot of times they try to project the energy of their favorite actresses, right? And it's one of the things that we actually talk. It's actually one of the things that we actually talk about. And so it's one of those things that when you own who you are, number one, you understand the pose for the clothing that you're wearing, okay, and then you're posing for your body style. You'll find that the images that you create will come out 10 times better than when you're trying to project someone else's energy and that type of thing. And it's funny when we're in class, Charlotte, and I shared it with people. They said, "Well, I never realized that's what I was doing." But in essence, you're kind of conditioned to do so. and that type of thing. So, the whole selfie thing came from Kim Kardashian, right? And so now when you see a lot of people taking pictures now, they poke their lips out just like Kim Kardashian. You're trying to project her energy, and sometimes that's not your angle. That's not, depending on what your body style looks like, that may not be the best angle for you, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. I'm always joking, but telling the truth of know your angles, know your angles, know your angles. And Milton, we do feel like I can speak, I think, on behalf of the ladies. We do feel like when we take a selfie, like we know how to get that angle that just sets it right. So, are you saying that we shouldn't do that, or are you saying that we should let that energy come across with the photographer? Like, because I really think I take some good selfies.
So I would say when it comes to taking selfies, you know what I mean. As an example, so let me give you a contextual example. One of the things that if you have chinky eyes, right? So some of us were born kind of in the inner city of Baltimore. We call them chinky eyes. Y'all may call them something different in Richmond or anywhere around the country. So if someone who has chinky eyes and they look up and they try to do a Kim Kardashian selfie, it'll look like their eyes are closed.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you? It'll actually look like their eyes are closed.
Yes, that does.
So their angle is actually better if they actually angle the camera down for them. So for each person, it's actually different, right? Most camera lenses are the exact same, right? So what's going to make the difference between someone who angles the camera up in the air, like a typical selfie, versus somebody who angles it down? It really depends on what their body style is. That's the reason why I kind of gave those three examples.
Okay, that's good. And so if someone's listening saying, I'm in Baltimore, I can get to Baltimore for this class, can you give the information of how they can register?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to send out the link. It's a bit.ly link. And if you wouldn't mind, I guess I should have had that on, had the actual direct link to it. But it's actually an Eventbrite that I can actually send to you if you wouldn't mind sending it out to.
All right, absolutely. Listeners, just follow me on Facebook if you're not following, facebook.com/Charvette, Instagram Charvette M, and also Twitter. We've been tweeting as well, and I've tagged Milton, so those are great connection points. And so while listeners are hanging out here and they're like, hey, I want to connect with them, what are the best ways for them to connect with you on social media?
So the number one way you can connect with me on social media is through my name. So you can look up Milton Lawrence Jr. So on all social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, across the board, you can just look up Milton Lawrence Jr. And you can inbox me if you have any direct questions, or you can also follow us online at MiltonLawrenceCreativeAgency.com as well.
All right, there you have it. Milton, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, I want to get more into video, and so I want to hear a little bit more about Will You Marry Me docuseries that you produced and all of that, and then also give some tips around those that are getting ready to do some video for their brands and all that good stuff. So if that's okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Listeners, don't you move. Matter of fact, let people know what you're listening to. Share the link with a friend and say, hey, you need to come check out the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. You need to check it out right now. All right, so we'll be back after this quick commercial break. Don't you move.
She's here to motivate, excite, and influence you. She's Charvette Mitchell. Charvette Mitchell. It's the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Charvette will be back after this.
Join us for the 17th Annual James River Writers Conference, happening at the Greater Richmond Convention Center, Saturday, October 12th and Sunday, October 13th. With master classes starting Friday the 11th. This conference is an annual gathering in Richmond, Virginia that attracts prize-winning authors and highly regarded editors and literary agents from around the country to share their wisdom about writing and publishing. Register today at jamesriverwriters.org, and we will see you October 12th and October 13th at the Greater Richmond Convention Center. Find out more at jamesriverwriters.org.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Are you starting a new business, releasing a CD, writing a new book? Consider Mitchell Productions for your web design services. Visit www.mitchell-productions.com for portfolio samples, specials, and package prices. Remember, a website is not a luxury item. It's a necessity. Check out mitchell-productions.com or find them at facebook.com/Mitchell Productions.
She's here to motivate, excite, and influence you. She's Charvette Mitchell. It's the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show with in-depth interviews from today's leading authors, gospel artists, stars that you want to know about. And now, Charvette Mitchell.
All right, welcome back again. Thank you so much for those that are hanging out with us. Even if you are hanging out with us live on all of our live streaming platforms, hey, Facebook Live, hey, Periscope, hey, Twitter, hey, YouTube, hello to those checking out the iTunes podcast and from our mobile app and from all of our broadcast stations. We appreciate you all of the time. And this segment is brought to you by the 4th Annual PopUp Conference for Female Entrepreneurs taking place in the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, November 1st and November 2nd. This is my signature conference that I host once a year, and this is my personal invitation to you. This is just for female entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs, or even if you're thinking about this is the direction you want to go. Listen, you want to get in the room and rub shoulders with ladies that are going to really help you out and give you some clarity and direction. And so jump over to heygirlhey.biz, and you'll find out all of the details. So we're jumping back in. We're super excited. We're here chatting it up with Milton Lawrence Jr., international lifestyle photographer, videographer, custom content creator. We boiled it all down. Storytelling, listen, and documentaries. And so coming back up to the mic now, Milton, thank you so much again for hanging out with us. And so I'd love to talk about kind of the video side of the storytelling. And so how did you get into doing the docuseries?
So obviously it was a natural progression. Obviously after shooting, quite a few weddings, one of the things that I noticed in the marketplace was that most of the shows that were online and on TV, were all about marriage and getting to the wedding day from the woman's perspective. But there was one key thing that was missing. You can have all of the engagement parties, you can have all of the bridal parties and all that kind of fun stuff, but none of that could happen unless he ever said, "Will you marry me?" So what I did was I actually created a docuseries where I interviewed well over 100 couples. Just so I can get a perspective. Oh, wow. And what I learned in that process was that, honestly, men, when they propose to their significant others, in most cases, from a heterosexual standpoint, right? So, what I learned was that when he proposed to her, that's not when he knew he was going to marry her. So there was a defining moment that was a defining moment for him when he knew that she was going to be his wife. And so what we wanted to find out was, and this is what the docuseries is about, is essentially, understanding what was his defining moment. And what we learned throughout that process, throughout the docuseries, there's over 24 episodes to the docuseries, where they both share. He shares his defining moment, and then she shares her defining moment. The framework of this docuseries is very similar to Black Love, the TV show Black Love. The difference is we interview them separately, right? And then we bring them back together at the end for the revealing of the defining moment. We asked her, "What do you think his defining moment was?" And when we get to the end, he reveals it to her at the end.
And how many, I know this is like off the cuff, but were you surprised by the number of conflicting defining moments where she thought it was a certain time and he, not at all, okay.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I would say it was probably about 80% of the time she got it wrong. 80% of the time she got it wrong. And so in most cases, women thought it was maybe something that she did. It was a support. It could have been something, in her mind, she might have thought it was, I don't know, she took care of the kids, or, there was a defining moment. So her defining moment, what she thought it was, definitely wasn't his.
Okay. Ladies.
And that's what makes it interesting.
Yes, that sounds very interesting. And so, and I know you have gone on to do a lot of great things in this space as far as documentaries. And so, let's focus this kind of conversation, the rest of this conversation, on business owners, entrepreneurs,
sure.
All of that want to have video, because we keep hearing and we keep seeing that video is so important. And shout out to you, Milton, because you produced like 22 plus videos for me and for my brand, Mitchell Productions. So, listeners, if you've seen on Facebook, if you've seen on Instagram, my professional videos, those are by Milton Lawrence Jr. And so let's talk about video and helping business owners get prepared to tell their story by way of video. Do you have about 3 tips you can share?
Absolutely. So very similar to, they can actually just follow your lead, to be honest with you. One of the things that we did back in January, we realized that people were trying to sell their products and services online, right? And so as they were trying to sell their products and services online, there's a precursor. Before you can ask for a transaction, no matter how large it is or how small it is, people kind of really want to know who you are. That's just the kind of the environment that we live in today. Back in the day, you could put your product or service out there, and it would just sell. If it was a good product or service, it would just sell. Typically, nowadays, if you're an influencer or author, online coach, speaker, whatever the case may be, people want to get to know you a little bit. They want to know a little bit about you. And so in saying that, your story, number one, is important, but also your authority is extremely important, okay? And so your ability to be able to maybe answer questions in advance, letting people know who you are. One of the things that I love to tell, I like to share with my clients, and I share with people, is put together, if you were to put together a frequently asked question sheet, a PDF with all the frequently asked questions that you're asked over and over and over and over again, and you were to put that into a video form, that would start the process of creating some of that what I call evergreen content or evergreen.
Yes.
No, these videos can be shot, using, your laptop, your cell phone, or you can have them professionally produced. It really does depend on, what you do for a living, who your target audience is, as to the level of production that is acceptable. So as an example, to give context to what I'm talking about, so if you're just a coach, I'm sorry, not a coach, but if you're an author, you wrote a book or whatever the case may be, I don't necessarily believe that you necessarily have to have it professionally produced, because there's between the cell phone and some of like the larger cameras that are out there, you can use that to be able to get your content out there. On the other hand, like yourself, you run a web design company and you a branding company, then your content must be professionally produced, if that makes sense. Okay? My doctor clients, my lawyer clients, they can't get away with, low budget type, content to put out there. So, but when you're first getting started, I would say this: shoot 5 videos of the frequently asked questions that you're asked over and over and over and over again. And what that's going to do is that will get indexed into the search engine. So when people are searching for their problems, your solution comes up as a potential option.
Oh, good tips. And Milton, if they do the videos on their own, then when they come to someone like you and your company and your agency, they're probably more prepared to shoot the professional videos.
Absolutely. So here's what they probably won't be able to do. And this is where we come into play, and the distinction between them shooting it on their own and coming to us. We're going to embed the story, if that makes sense. So you can shoot direct-to-camera type videos, but where we come into play is we add the story element, so we add the branding element to it, and that type of thing. So as an example, Charlotte, we could have shot your videos on a larger tech camera. But where you see the difference is when you start seeing those lower thirds that match your colors and your brand. If we were to decide to add B-roll to that, in most cases they're not going to know to go shoot that type of stuff. It's not even on their radar. That's where we come into play. And here's probably the most important piece to it. We add the sales element to it, where it has a framework where when you walk through that video, where you're introducing yourself, you're establishing the problem, you walk in with the call to action, all those types of things. It all adds up to a video that actually converts. So it's not about just creating videos. The whole purpose of creating those videos is to establish authority, let them know who you are, but more importantly, to send them somewhere where you can continue to nurture them and eventually convert them into coins.
Yes. And that's what we want. That's what we want, the conversion into coins. And so I think that really is an underlying theme, definitely for business owners, for all of this. Your brand photography, your videos, you want that conversion to happen. And so, Milton, what do you think about Facebook Live and live streaming?
It is absolutely crucial. So there was a time back in the day when they would say, I believe it was Bill Gates who said that if you're not online in the next 2 to 5 years, this is the turn of the century, from 1999 going into 2000. He wrote an article. He said, if you're not online in the next 2 to 5 years, you won't be in business. Period. So there were a couple companies that didn't listen to him. You know what I mean? Circuit City was one of them. Montgomery Ward was another one of them. Right? You guys have heard Circuit City. These are all companies that didn't. They said, nah, Blockbusters. Nah, we don't believe in that thing. Well, let Milton Lawrence say it to you this time. If you're not live streaming, 80% of content, this is not a Milton Lawrence fact, this is a fact that's been published by multiple research companies, and over 80% of content that's being consumed right now is being consumed via video. And if you're not producing videos right now, whether it's via Facebook live stream, Instagram live stream, now LinkedIn live stream, if you're not producing content via video, then in many cases you're getting smoked. Over 400 hours per minute is being loaded to YouTube every day. And so right now, this is the reason why a lot of major TV stations are shutting down right now, because they can't keep up with the content that's being put up right on typical social media.
And it's real time and it's instant, and the middleman has been cut out.
Facts. The gatekeepers are gone.
The middleman has been cut out.
The gatekeepers are gone. So now you no longer have to go around anybody to get your content out to the world. That's where the eyeballs are. Right now, there's a huge race of major companies converting their traditional dollars into social media dollars, because that's where the eyeballs are. People are watching content on their phones. If your content is not mobile optimized, then you know what I mean. Then you're going to have a hard time trying to build your audience, to be able to convert your audience and to nurture an audience.
Ooh, well said. And big shout out to Lamar Tyler, who wrote a book called The Gatekeepers Are Gone. So definitely want to give him a shout out.
That's a must read. You got to put that in the library.
Yes. Pick it up, get it. All right, and so how can people work with you? We talked about the classes coming up for, posing, but just in general, one more time, want you to give out your contact information if there may be brides or people that are getting engaged. And I know you don't do a ton of weddings, but you did post on your social media recently about engaged couples kind of reaching out. And so just give all of your contact information out one more time.
Absolutely. So if you're trying to get a hold of me, honestly, you can just Google my name, Milton Lawrence Jr. That's the easiest thing to do. But if you find yourself on social media, type in Milton Lawrence Jr., and all of my social media platforms will come up, either on Instagram, Facebook. I spend most of my time on Facebook and Instagram. I don't really spend a whole lot of time on Twitter. And so if you want to find me, that's one way of getting a hold of me. Or you can go to the website, which is MiltonLawrenceCreativeAgency.com.
And Milton, I know you have had the opportunity to travel the world doing this and doing what you love. What are some of the places that you've been able to go to because of this work that you're doing?
So the camera has really opened up some pretty sweet doors. Working with various publications and influencers and major corporations from around Fortune 100 companies, the CEOs and things like that. And so all throughout the Caribbean, throw a pin in any one of the major islands that are down there within the Caribbean. We shot there in some way, shape, or form. We've even gone east, out to Australia and to Hong Kong and to let's see what else, Thailand a couple times, to Singapore to shoot. So and then most recently, probably the highlight of all of my travel was going to Africa, specifically South Africa. To Johannesburg and also to Cape Town. And so I look forward to actually getting back there by the end of the year to go to Ghana. I'm actually celebrating my birthday in December, and my goal is to try to get there because this year is the 400th year of people coming home. coming back to Africa.
Oh, wow.
So I just want to go back and just take the camera, not on an actual assignment. My goal is just to go and just kind of do my home research and that type of thing, and just kind of have some vacation time, if you will. But the camera's definitely been able to open up some doors for me to do world-class travel. And it's one of the things I actually posted earlier today that if you're a parent and your kids come home and say, hey, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a photographer, I want to be a videographer, I want to be a content creator, please don't dismiss that, because right now content creators are creating these really good lifestyles for themselves, putting money in the bank, and they can still go get their education at the same time. I know that's really the real debate when it comes to, well, if you're going to go do that, are you still going to go get your education? You can do them both, which is pretty cool.
All right. Hence, international lifestyle, photographer, videographer, all of those things. So I wanted you to mention that. And so the goal of my show, Milton, is really around motivating, exciting, and influencing people. And so we want to know what continues to motivate you.
I have this thing called a family, and I'm gonna keep it 1,000% honest with you. We have this thing called I have a family. I'm a father of 3 little girls. The oldest is 22, and the youngest one is 12. And every day things are changing. Nothing ever stays the same. And between that and also taking care of my nieces and nephews, that is the thing that reminds me, keeps me grounded. Number one, because sometimes sometimes you can read your own press clippings. Sometimes you can say, I'm doing really, really well, or whatever the case may be, in comparison to yourself to maybe some of the people you might have grew up with, or whatever the case may be. And what keeps me humble, number one, is my family. It's also the thing that motivates the crap out of me to go and to go build the number one thing that my mother and father asked me to do, and it's something that's in my spirit, and that is to build legacy, right? To carry my name on, so that it's something that can permeate from around the world. So as we create this content, it's not a content that just goes up. It's content that goes up that serves other people and impacts other people, but at the same time be able to put money in the bank so that you can continue to keep that ministry going, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's good. Well said, well said. Well, our time flew by, Milton, and we appreciate having the opportunity just to share you with our listeners, and we're just going to keep our eye out on all of the amazing things that you're doing. And so, one day when you, are walking a red carpet or something of that nature, don't act like you don't know the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show when you get to wherever you're going.
Humble beginnings, humble endings, period.
That's good. That's good. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by the show.
Thank you so much, Sharvette, for the opportunity.
All right, you're welcome. All right, listeners, guess what? That is going to be a wrap for today's show. Thank you so much for all those that are checking us out here. And we're going to have more dynamic, phenomenal shows for you guys. So just hang out with me at Sharvette.com. Thank you, iTunes listeners, and our live streaming. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you've been listening to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Catch Sharvette Mitchell every Tuesday at 6 p.m., interviewing all the stars you want to hear from. So until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. This is the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show.